Hi everyone, welcome to today's talk from Hello Future Live. Today we've got John Simpson joining us from the University of Cumbria. He's going to be talking to us about UCAS applications and university interviews. So take it away, John.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. So yeah, hi everybody. Appreciate that some of you may be joining us on a recorded stream. So welcome if you're watching that way. As introduced, my name's John and I'm an outreach officer at the University of Cumbria. So being asked along today to give an overview of UCAS applications and university interviews. So for some people that might be really relevant in terms of the next stage of what you're thinking of applying for this academic year or next academic year. For others, you may be thinking further ahead, have a few years left at school, have sort of sixth form on your mind, what you're applying to sixth form. So hopefully it gives an overview, no matter what sort of stage you're at, as to what you can start to think about and take forward. So I'll move on to the next slides. I just wanted to do a quick welcome whilst I was on video and on screen. But what I'm going to do is just knock my video share off at the moment, just so that we don't have any hold up in terms of internet connection as I go through the slides. So I'll knock my video off and then we'll make a start. Brill. So like I say, what today's session is going to cover is a little bit of an exploration into what UCAS actually is. So what do we mean by UCAS? How and when to make a start with your UCAS application. And as I mentioned there in the sort of introduction, it may be that that's something really relevant to now and what you're thinking about right now or into next academic year, or it may be a little bit further down the line for some, and we'll look into different situations. What to include in a personal statement, so a personal statement being a part of that UCAS application. And then we'll touch on university interviews and what to expect from university interviews and how you can maybe best prepare for that. And in general, we'll talk through some tips and advice on all the above topics. And then we'll finish on just where you can find out more information and what you can do next. And just before we make a start, worth just noting, the information that we'll be talking through is in regards to if you're a UK-based undergraduate applicant. So you're considering applying to an undergraduate programme and you're based in the UK. It might be that you're at school or college at the moment and you'll be making that undergraduate application. So yeah, firstly, what is UCAS? Well, UCAS stands for the University and Colleges Admissions Service. And essentially, it's the go-to place for all research related to HE courses and providers. And it also has information regarding further education options, apprenticeships, and various postgraduate options as well. So essentially, UCAS is the sort of go-to place, as I say, for all things related to that undergraduate application, that research piece around what courses are available, about how to make an application, what to include in an application, and any other questions you might have around applying to university. The service is used to make applications to undergraduate courses. So we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail in a couple of slides' time, but essentially you can apply for up to 5 courses and what we call choices through the UCAS application cycle. And it's used to make that application. You'll register online and you'll apply direct for your courses through UCAS, and then they'll distribute your application to your relevant universities, the universities that you've chosen to apply for. It's independent and funded by applicant payments and HEIs, such as the University of Cumbria. So there will be a small fee when you look to make your application through UCAS for your undergraduate study. So that fee changes year on year. It may sort of go up, it may stay the same. So just be worth noting when you're starting your research, when you're looking into applying through UCAS, what that fee is and when you're going to be expected to make that application payment in terms of when you plan to submit your application. So coming on to, well, when to start thinking about things and what UCAS is and how it works. So like I mentioned at the start, no matter what your sort of situation at the moment, whether you're a year 10, year 11 student thinking further ahead, or you're a year 12 student going into knowing that you'll be making an application for university next academic year, it's never too early really to start some research. So no matter what your age or what your interests are, you can look to start making that research and start to think for yourself, well, is university going to be right for you? What courses are offered where? and what you can start to think about. So for example, all of the information on the slide here, the options on the slide here, you can use to start that research. So obviously university websites, you can look to those university websites regards what their university is like. You can watch virtual tours, you can take down information about specific courses, or look to contact universities direct via their website and start getting a feel for what that university is like and what life at that campus is going to be like, what their courses are like, what their courses include, do they offer what you're interested in? And that's the same with prospectuses. So it might be that you download a digital prospectus or ask for a copy to be sent to you. Obviously, with how we are at the moment, it may be difficult to get hold of a physical copy, so you could request one to be sent to you. And again, that prospectus will include all kinds of different information about that university and about their offer. You can speak to your teachers, your current teachers at the moment. They'll have had their own experience of university. They'll have had experience of guiding other students to and through university in terms of their applications in previous years. What do they know about you as a learner? What do they think would be right for you? So really make the most of that resource and speak to your teachers and advisors at your school or at your college if you're currently a student at the moment. Again, obviously with how things are at the moment, UCAS fairs aren't happening as used to in terms of being a face-to-face event at a particular venue where you can go along and meet lots of different university representatives, but they are happening online. So keep an eye for the UCAS Discovery Days, different UCAS fairs, different events that they're hosting online, where a range of providers such as ourselves, such as other universities, come together at one event where you can ask any questions of the staff that are online at those events. You can download, again, different resource and information from their sort of virtual stalls, virtual booths, if you like. You'll have friends, family to speak to. So maybe people who've got experience, again, of going to university themselves, or they'll have, various bits of advice, guidance for you and knowing your interests and what you're passionate about. And you can speak to them about what might be best for you going forward. And then open days, similar to the UCAS fairs, is obviously how open days are operating at the moment in terms of on-campus events is limited at the moment, but hopefully picking up in these months ahead. But ourselves at the University of Cumbria, and again, I'm sure other universities, are running virtual style open days, remote open days, digital open days, where you can register for an event, find out lots of different information about a particular university, about their campus, have opportunity to speak direct to academic teams, support teams, everybody that would be usually available at a physical face-to-face event, you'll have access to either hearing from or being an opportunity to chat to online and find out more about that institution. So really, really key information can be gathered from things like open days where you're speaking direct to representatives of the university. And at open days and as well as at UCAS fairs and even on university websites, depending on which university and how their university website is set up, you'll be able to hear from current students, which for a lot of people, that's really important. Having access to a current student on a course you're interested in or a campus you're interested in and hear from them what they think about that university. Why did they choose to study there? What have they got to say about their experience? So again, really look to make the most of any opportunity like that. At those events, you'll have opportunity again to speak to admissions tutors. I will come on to in a slide or two what admissions tutors are looking for in regards to academic requirements, looking at personal statements, that kind of thing. Your careers service teams in and out of school. There'll be local careers service support teams within the community. You'll hopefully have access to careers service teams within your school or college. So again, look to make the most of chatting to people like that. And then ourselves at the University of Cumbria, and again, other providers, will offer various different subject tasters. So it might be that you're interested in a particular subject at the moment at school, but you're not quite sure how that works at university or how in detail you would study or what's the academic level like. Well, quite often there'll be an offer of subject tasters in various different forms from a university. So look to sign up for any opportunities either through school or independent when you're looking at university websites of opportunities to get involved with anything that can help broaden your knowledge about a subject, give you that insight to what it's like studying at university and at a higher education level. So at any point you can start thinking about all of these different points. You can start thinking about it if you're, as I say, year 10, 11, thinking about your GCSEs and beyond, or if you're in sixth form or college at the moment and you're starting to think about your application, you can start to utilise all of these opportunities in regards to research. One primary point, one thing that you'll really want to consider is what the course entry requirements are. So again, you'll be able to use the UCAS website and the information available on the UCAS website, and then use the university website's direct for more details in regards to each course and its required entry and its entry requirements. So I know it's a little bit faint there, but hopefully you'll be able to see on that screenshot example, that often courses use what's called UCAS points to determine their entry requirements. There may be additional entry requirements as well. So for example, you might be required to have a GCSE at a certain level as well as UCAS points. But you can use the qualification requirements, entry requirements tool on UCAS or on the university website to see what each individual course entry requirements are. So for example, 96 to 112 points would be the UCAS entry requirements for this course particular in screenshot, and you can see it broken down as to if somebody's studying A-level, that for example might come in a form of 3 Cs at A-level, or if you're studying on an extended diploma in merit, or distinction merit. So you can break that down. And what you can use is the UCAS tariff calculator to start thinking about that in more detail. So really, each level 3 qualification is attributed UCAS points. So when we talk of UCAS points, or a university is writing their entry requirements in that phrase UCAS points, what it means is the points that are attributed to your level 3 qualification. So that might be A levels, or it might be a BTEC national diploma like used on that last screen. And there's a function on the UCAS website called the UCAS tariff calculator, where you can put in various different qualifications, so qualifications that you're studying or that you're considering studying in the future, and you can use that tool to start thinking about, well, if I achieve a C at A level, or if I achieve a distinction merit in my extended diploma, how many UCAS points is that going to give me? And then you can start to use that to look at your different research that you've done in regards, well, that course has a certain entry requirement of, say, 112 points. I know that on my diploma, I can achieve that if I work hard, if I get certain academic grades, or in my A levels, if I take 4 A levels, I'm looking at achieving 2 Bs, 2 Cs to get X amount of UCAS points. So you can start to plan that and look ahead, or like I say, you can use it to think about the grades that you're currently on target for if you're a current student at that level. So essentially, you'll be using that as you go through. You'll be speaking to your tutors and to your teachers at school and at college to start to get an awareness of, well, for the choices I'm interested in applying for at university, I need to reach X amount of entry requirements for my level 3 qualification. And different qualifications and grades are worth different points, like I've kind of highlighted. So that's just a point there to highlight. So do have a look into the UCAS tariff calculator, do have a look into entry requirements for the different courses that you begin to be interested in, because it will help inform either what you choose to study at sixth form or college, or will help you and motivate you in terms of your academic, your academic goals and academic achievement, hopefully to reach those UCAS points. And then timeline. So again, depending on the stage that you're at as a current student, will impact where you are in terms of that research piece and in terms of what's right for you as a next step. But how it kind of works is there's a UCAS cycle. And what we mean by that is the May before you'll be looking to apply, you can register and start your application. However, you will not be able to submit through UCAS until the following September. So as we are now, we're obviously in the month of May. So if you're a first year college student or you're a year 12 student, and next year you'll be going into your final year, year 13, or your final year on your college course, you'll be making your UCAS application in that autumn term to apply for the following September. So it may be that you're starting to consider what your choices are going to be, where you're thinking of studying, and you'll be able to register on UCAS from May. And then you'll be able to start updating your application, starting to look at certain sections of your application. However, you won't be able to submit your application until next autumn, until the autumn term, the beginning of next academic year. And then if you're looking at applying for universities of Oxford, Cambridge, or courses in medicine, veterinary medicine, and potentially dentistry, then there's a deadline in sort of mid-October, the second week in October, for making your application. For all other undergraduate courses, the equal consideration deadline is mid-January, usually the second week in January. So you would start anytime from now, thinking about your application, thinking about the different sections of the application, which we'll move on to next, then thinking about submitting and making that application once you are obviously aware of what choices you want to apply for, either looking at that October deadline or that more generic January deadline. And any applications received after January, you can apply as what we class as a late applicant from January through to June. So the chances are that you'll still be able to apply for some universities, but some university courses may close after the January deadline as they'll have certain capacity limits. But you'll be able to contact a university after January to see if they'd still consider your application through that cycle. And then after June, applications received after the 30th of June are entered into what we call clearing. And I'll mention on how you can find out more about clearing at the end of the presentation. So UCAS applications and what is included. So usually these are completed with the support of your school or college. So if you're watching this presentation as a current school or college student, then you will be supported with your UCAS application by your school or college, either teachers in your school, support teams, support services in your school or college. So all that we're talking about will give you that insight and that introduction to this process, and then you'll be supported through that by your school, by your college, as and when required. The sections that you need to consider and that you'll be presented with as part of your UCAS application are personal details, so relevant contact details, a little bit more additional information about yourself and your background. You'll be asked to enter your choices. So like I say, you can apply for up to 5 choices at 5 universities. So you'll have done that research or began to do that research, and you'll be able to include up to 5 choices if you wish. You'll include your education history, your employment history, if relevant. You'll write a personal statement, and there'll also be a chance for a reference to be added by an academic reference. So a current teacher or a current support member of staff in your school or college. So your education history section is an important section, and it includes all your various qualifications from GCSE upwards. So it might be that you've got a number of GCSEs that you've studied obviously prior to making this application. You've then gone on to college or to sixth form, and you're studying 4 A-levels, or you're studying a BTEC diploma, whatever it is you're studying. And obviously for those qualifications that you're currently studying, you won't have the final grade. So what you'll be able to add is a predicted is a pending grade, and your reference will then add your predicted grade. So it may be that you're working towards obviously A-levels or a diploma, and you're in your second year, your final year of those studies, and you don't have all of your grades yet. So you'll be able to mark those grades as pending, and then when your reference comes to add your academic reference, they'll have the ability to add in what your predicted grades are, which will obviously work towards meeting those entry requirements that you've looked into. And then all of those sections are supported by what's called a personal statement. So you'll include your education history and any relevant other information asked for, and you'll also write a personal statement, which we'll now briefly talk about. So your personal statement is part of your UCAS application. You can write up to 4,000 characters, and essentially it is about you and it's written by you. And it's your opportunity to really sell yourself to an admissions tutor. So you talk about your relevant skills, experiences, interests outside of school, outside of college as well. And it helps universities to select their students using something other than just grades. So within your application, you'll include, like I say, your previous grades, your current pending grades, and any further grades that you've studied. And this helps give the universities a chance to get more of an understanding and get to know you more than just those grades that are on your application. Often students find this process quite stressful, writing about themselves and thinking about what to write, but you only write one. That's important to remember. So you'll write one personal statement, and that personal statement will go out to all of your choices. So if you're applying to 5 universities, you'll write one statement that will go out to all 5 of your choices. So it's a one-time thing. that you can put your effort into, and hopefully once you've got it done, we'll talk through some tips of how to do that, then hopefully you won't find it too stressful as you're just writing the one. So thinking about what to include, you're thinking about all of these things on the slides here. So why should a university choose you? What is it about you as a student, you as a person, that would be right for that university, that would make them want to include you as a student in their admissions? It might be that you want to talk about a particular interest in the course. So the course that you're applying for, the sort of nature of the course, why it is you're interested, anything related to your current studies that maybe stands out in relation to the course that they offer at their universities, any academic skills and achievements, as well as any personal skills and achievements. So it might be in relation to things that you're studying at the moment, certain grades, certain achievements in school or college, but also outside of school or college. What do you get up to? What are you involved in? Is there anything that you want to highlight about yourself in that regard? You maybe want to look to include your ambitions and motivations. So what is it you want to do beyond university? Have you given any thought to what you would like to do as a career and how that fits into what you're wanting to study? You may have relevant life or work experience that you want to include. So for example, you might work part-time, or you've maybe done some placement as part of a current course that you can look to bring some skills and some experiences to the forefront of your statement. And it might be, again, that your hobbies and interests relate to what you're applying to as well. So all of those things you could look to include and get to really sort of start to paint that picture of what you're like as an individual. Often the bit somebody struggles with the most when we talk to students and they think about, well, where do I start? What do I do when I want to make a start with my personal statement? It's hard to write about myself. I don't know what to include. I don't know what to say. So ultimately, have a think about what you want to include and start to gather some ideas. So it might be that you jot notes down on paper. It might be that you split sections like that sort of diagram at the bottom there in terms of bullet pointing under each section, what you would like to include. Get something down on paper, have it down on paper, and then look to start forming those sentences, those paragraphs, the structure after you have your ideas down. And it might be that you want to discuss this with a friend, a family member, or a teacher. What positives do they see about you? What do they think you're interested in? What do they see as you as, you know, in terms of your studies and in terms of your positive skills, what your interests are? So have a chat to people around you, have a chat to teachers in regards to support with this, your support staff, and really start to get some pieces down on paper that you can use to build that personal statement. And then in terms of sort of top tips, you want to structure your information to reflect the skills and qualities that universities and colleges value the most. So it might be in that research, you've looked into what kind of students people are looking for, universities are looking for within their courses. They might nod to what they like to see in their students on their website, or when you've been talking to academics at open days, and think what you can include in that. Obviously, writing an enthusiastic, sort of natural style, and where possible, try to stand out. It is your opportunity to stand out. So do think about what's going to help do that. And then proofread it. It might be that you've got drafts where you could have teachers, advisors, and family to check, and you want to proofread drafts, update drafts. Wherever you want to make a start, have somebody proofread it and keep building and building until you get to a final version that you're happy with. And then once you're happy with your personal statement, you'll upload that to your UCAS application, and you'll be able to submit your application with that school or college reference. So you'll have a school or college member of staff submit a reference and those predicted grades if you are a current student. And then you will submit that application to UCAS. UCAS will then distribute your application to all of your chosen universities, and those university admissions teams will begin to make decisions based on your application. So it may be that you are made a formal offer, or you're, for whatever reason, not made an offer, and you'll be updated and notified of that via UCAS. Or it may be, if you're applying to a course that involves an interview, that you'll be invited to interview. So that will be course dependent, and we'll just come on now for the sort of last section of this presentation to talk about university interviews. So things to consider. Does your course require an interview? So not all university courses will, but quite often any courses related to health industry or to education, those courses will interview in regards to obviously the checks that they need to do relevant to those courses. So think about, is it a course that does interview, and be prepared that you may be invited along to an interview if it is a course that will require that. And also consider, what are they likely to ask? So is it a type of interview, for example, that they're going to ask you about a particular topic or a particular subject? So we'll come on to that and think about what it is the university is likely to ask you. Think about, do you understand the course area and the content fully? So are you well researched? What else can you do in regards to that research on top of some of those things that we discussed earlier? And what are they looking for in an applicant? So essentially, some of that research you'll have done into why you're looking at that university and what you're looking to include in your personal statement will obviously support an interview process. In terms of the details, you might have a venue to go to. Obviously, at the moment, it might be that that interview is held virtually. So how do you get access to that interview? How do you sign up for that interview? Where do you need to register? How do you get your link to access that interview? Where will you access it from home? All things that we'll just discuss in a moment. Start and finish time and the date, be aware of all those details. Do you have time in your day? How long is the interview going to be for? Is it a date that you're available? And then, do you need to prepare anything? So is there anything that you can prepare, or anything that you need to take with you or have with you online if it is an online interview? And the different types of interview. So often, obviously, with job interviews, there can be various different types of interviews, and it can be similar with university. So obviously, at the moment, most interviews that you'll find the University of Cumbria recently, and obviously going forward, depending on how guidance updates, have been virtual interviews. So they'll be virtual based, online, and you'll register for a platform and you'll meet your academic online virtually and do an interview that way. Obviously, as times change, it will go back to hopefully more meeting, and that might be in the form of a one-to-one or potentially group. But to be honest, for universities, usually it is a one-to-one interview, depending on if it is maybe more audition based. So it might be that you're applying for a course, say, in the performing arts, and it might be that you're asked to audition. So that might be a solo audition, or maybe for a music course, you would have to record a piece of music, anything like that. So do be aware of any details that they can ask you. For portfolio-based courses, such as, again, art-related courses, they might ask for a review of portfolio. So you may be asked to put together a portfolio. So they're slightly different types of interview than the traditional types of interview that we're going to talk about in these next couple of slides. But it is just worth noting that depending on the course you're applying to, it might be that they interview in a certain way, or that they have certain details and different requirements. So there's your more traditional type of interview that we'll talk about. But if you are applying to an arts related course or a performance related course, you may be asked to audition, or you may be asked to bring along or provide a portfolio based piece of work as well. So again, knowing that comes from research. So you can look into the course content and the type of institution, and you'll have relevant information sent to you. So it's important that you read through that. And one additional piece of research and sort of background work you can do is reread your personal statement. It may be that in a university interview or at any of the above mentioned, so portfolio sessions or auditions, you're asked about something that you've written in your personal statement, that you've highlighted in your personal statement. So make sure you've read that back and that you're comfortable with what you've put in your personal statement, and that you can speak more on that if asked. And again, be confident about your subject area. And then what you can do to kind of prepare everything you need to do before an interview is think about everything you need. So do you need any notes? Have you made yourself any notes? Is there anything else that you need to have with you? Again, if it's a virtual interview, have you got the link that you need to access it? Have you got any names of contacts that you need if you needed to contact anybody if something wasn't quite right? So everything you need, try and prepare that well before the interview in as much time as you can. Examine any notes or presentation you may be been asked to do. Think about what you can include in that and take your time with that. If it is a face-to-face interview, think about your transport arrangements, how you're going to get there. Have you left yourself plenty of time? Are you going to set off early enough so that you'll be able to find the campus, the facilities, the exact location that you need to meet? Or if it is an online interview, think about where you plan to connect from. Are you going to be in a quiet space? Have you got access to the internet that won't break up or disconnect? Are you going to be interrupted during the session? So try and plan ahead for that so that you're comfortable in your surroundings for if you are doing an online interview. So hopefully goes without say, but set your alarm so you've plenty of time to get ready so that you're not in a rush. You don't feel rushed going into the interview. You feel well prepared and hopefully quite calm and ready. And importantly, try and get a good night's sleep. Sounds really easy to say, but you'll be more relaxed. You'll feel more comfortable if you've had a good night's sleep. And remember that they've offered you that interview because they want to hear more from you, because they want to speak to you. They've liked your application. So don't let that keep you up at night about ifs, buts, etc. Really do just try and relax as best you can before an interview and try and get a good night's sleep so that you go into that interview fresh and in a positive mindset. What you're likely to be asked, and like I say, this is a more traditional style interview that we're thinking of here, not your auditions and portfolio-based sort of sessions, but in a university interview, try and listen carefully to the different questions that you're asked. Speak clearly and confidently. So on any topic that you're talking about, try and speak really clearly and confidently. And hopefully if you're researched and you know your stuff, you can do that. It might be that a university asks you about a current topic or a current event in relation to, you know, the content and the subject matter that you're interested in and the course that you're applying to. So try and keep up with current affairs, what's going on in the news, what's going on that's related to your course, so that you really know your stuff and that you can speak quite confidently on that. Think through your answer first. So take that time to have a think and then respond to what it is that they're asking you. And if you do need the question repeated, then do just ask. They will be happy to repeat a question if necessary. And where possible, try and give evidence to support any experiences that you talk about or skills that you talk about. So again, that might be that you've talked about something in your personal statement. You can look to build on that and give more evidence of that within your interview. And hopefully that'll help you avoid any yes or no style answers. So you're not just giving consistent yes or no to a question. You're able to elaborate, you're able to go into more detail and give some evidence to support your experience and your skills or anything that you're talking about. And then sort of finally, really, is some tips in regards to interview would be body language. So always look to smile, be positive throughout an interview, be confident where possible. Try to avoid any sort of fidgeting, fiddling with different objects, avoid, say, touching your face or your hair too much. Try and stay quite composed, not to mess with any pens or paper, something that's going to make some noise and distract from the interview itself. It might be that you want to keep your hands on your lap or on the table. Try and think about eye contact. Obviously, that's difficult online if you're interviewing online. But if you have had bits of information through about connecting online and it's relevant to do so, and you have capability, can you have your camera on? Can you make sure that the interviewer can hear you clearly? All of that really helps in terms of getting your points across and getting your information across to that interviewer. Try not to slouch and obviously try and sit up straight. So all of that can help to give a positive impression on an interviewer that you're interested, that you're motivated to be there, and that you're a kind of student they would like to have on their course and on their program at university. So just some points and tips, which, like I say, can be difficult at the moment if interviewing online, but are all still relevant to consider if obviously you're doing a virtual interview that you're on camera for, that you can keep that body language positive and that you can engage in a positive way with that interviewer. And then after the interview, it might be worth making some notes. So you may have more interviews coming up with different universities. So you can think about, well, what were you asked this time? Will I be asked similar questions next time? Did anything surprise you that you'd be able to note down at the time and make sort of the most of your thoughts at the time, just reflecting on what you've been through. So bringing us on to reflect about, well, what went well? And is there any areas you could work on? So for example, you might feel that you didn't answer a question in the best way you could possibly. And it might be that if asked that again, you would prefer to give more of an in-depth answer and you'd have ideas on how you could do that. Or it might be that you've got little things that you thought went really well and that you want to build on at a future interview. And then essentially the next point is to wait. So you will be informed via UCAS on the decision of the interview, and you'll be notified usually via email and to access your UCAS portal in regards to a decision on if you've been sort of successful with your interview and moved on to the next stage and what you can do next, or if you for whatever reason have been unsuccessful, they might have various bits of feedback for you. So really just how the interview process works and then what happens next. And then in terms of today's session, appreciate that that's been a lot of information and me just sort of talking at the screen for a little while. Hopefully, if you've been watching on record, you can pause at certain points of the presentation, take in different points of information on screen and through the bits of conversation I was having, and you'll be able to take that away and into future research with you. Next steps from me really would be to make the most of different university websites. So for example, our Choose Cumbria page highlighted here has all kinds of different information on about our university, but also about applying to university and student case studies and virtual tours to find out more about the university. Attend any open days or virtual open days at the moment if they're running virtually and online to, like I say, find out more about each institution you're interested in and really do make the most of those opportunities. Make the most of the resources on UCAS. So visit the UCAS website, have a look at the different resources that are on there, the online resources such as the course search tool, the UCAS tariff calculator, but they also have downloadable resources and really useful how-to guide, video, YouTube guides as well that you can make the most of. And then look to access further support through your support networks in school, in college, your teachers, your people around you at home as well. And if you have any further questions or you'd like to contact us at the university to find out anything further about what we've talked about today or about any other topics in relation to our outreach offer, you can contact us on outreach@cumbria.ac.uk, and we'll be more than welcome to answer any inquiries you might have or talk through any ideas or thoughts you might have about applying to university or anything else in related to your transition to higher education. So yeah, that is me. I know I've talked sort of through that really quickly. Appreciate it was a lot of slides, but hopefully you found that useful. And like I said, do look to contact us if you would require any further information.
Thanks so much, John. That was a really, really great talk. This event has been put on as part of Hello Future Live, as I said at the start of this. If you want to check out any other events we're putting on, we're going until the 18th of June with this. So please do sign up to other sessions if you catch this recording online. It might not be too late because, yeah, we're going on until the mid-June. So, yeah, check it out on social media and also on our website on the events page. Thanks again, John. Thanks very much from the University of Cumbria. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.